Andrei Ionescu always felt the weight of his Romanian roots. Born near the Carpathian Mountains, a place of old forests and spooky stories, he grew up hearing them. His grandmother, a wise woman with knowing eyes, told him tales of vampires and werewolves. She spoke of ancient curses and ghosts that roamed the land. Andrei thought they were just stories, made up from an active imagination. He left Romania for America, wanting a life without superstition and fear. He settled in Rhode Island, a small seaside town as different from Transylvania as you could get. He lived the American dream, falling in love with a local girl named Tiffany. Life was great, the past a distant memory. He'd almost forgotten the scary stories of his childhood, almost. But the past has a way of catching up, even in the most unexpected places. It started with bad dreams. Scary, vivid dreams that left Andrei gasping for air, covered in sweat before sunrise. He saw a raven with blood-red eyes, its harsh call echoing in his ears. He saw a flickering candle lighting up an old piece of parchment, a name written in blood-red ink, Ionescu. He tried to ignore these nightmares. He told himself it was stress from his new job, being in a new place. But deep down, a hidden fear, asleep for so long, started to wake up. One night, while eating dinner with Tiffany's family, he heard a bit of their conversation. They were talking about a local legend, the Howler, a strange old man who lived in the woods outside of town. People whispered about his weird habits, his intense stare, and his creepy ability to predict bad things. Tiffany's dad, a big fisherman with a loud laugh, said the stories were silly. But Tiffany's grandmother, her eyes twinkling knowingly, leaned in and said, "They say the Howler can sense darkness. They say he's drawn to it." Her words hit Andrei hard, waking up the fear inside him. The Howler. The name alone was enough to scare people. He was a ghost, a mystery, rarely seen but always felt. His presence hung over the town like the salty sea air, a constant reminder of the darkness hidden underneath. Some said he was a hermit, wanting to be alone in the woods. Others said he was a warlock, messing with dangerous magic, but everyone agreed the Howler meant trouble. He was a scary sight, tall and skinny, with long, messy hair the color of a stormy sky. His eyes, deep and piercing, seemed to hold the weight of centuries. He wore a ripped cloak that flowed behind him like a ghost sheet, and a necklace of animal bones hung around his neck, clicking with every step. His voice, when he spoke, was a low growl that seemed to come from deep underground. Andrei tried to ignore the stories. He told himself they were just that, stories, but the nightmares continued. And the image of the Howler with his haunted eyes and creepy presence started to take over his thoughts. One sunny afternoon, Tiffany got Andrei to go for a walk in the park with her. She wanted to make him feel better, to get his mind off the darkness that seemed to be surrounding him. He agreed, hoping a change of scenery would help. As they walked hand in hand along the path, the peace of the day was broken. A terrifying scream filled the air, followed by panicked yells. A group of kids ran out of the woods, their faces white with fear. "The Howler! The Howler!" they screamed, pointing back at the trees. Tiffany squeezed Andrei's hand. "Stay here," she said, her voice shaking. "I'll see what's happening." Before Andrei could argue, she was gone, running towards the noise. He stood there, frozen, stuck between his fear and his worry for Tiffany. Tiffany found the Howler in a small clearing, surrounded by scared children. He was yelling and ranting, his voice a deep roar. "The blood moon rises! The curse will happen!" he shouted, his eyes wild with a strange, scary light. He looked at Tiffany, his eyes staring into her soul. "You," he rasped, pointing a bony finger at her. "You're the key, the bridge between light and shadow." Tiffany stood tall, her fear turning into anger. "Leave them alone," she said, her voice surprisingly strong. "They haven't done anything to you." The Howler gave a dry, humorless chuckle. "Silly girl," he said, his voice dropping to a scary whisper. "You can't escape fate. The curse will have its way." As the bird's blood dripped from his mouth, Mr. Howler's eyes locked with mine, and a sinister smile spread across his face. I felt a chill run down my spine, as if something ancient and malevolent had awoken within him. Tiffany, sensing the danger, grabbed my hand and we ran. We didn't stop until we reached the safety of my apartment, where we collapsed, breathless and shaken. "What was that?" Tiffany asked, her eyes wide with fear. "I don't know, but we can't stay here," I replied. "I knew we had to leave town, disappear without a trace. For our encounter with the Howler man would not be forgotten, and we would not be forgiven." The sun was setting as we packed our bags and slipped out of Weekapog under the cover of darkness. Little did I know that this was just the beginning of a journey that would uncover the ancient curse that plagued my family and reveal the true nature of the Howler man and his connection to our dark legacy. As we fled Weekapog, the weight of what we had witnessed bore down on us. The image of the Howler man, his eyes wild and bloodshot, his mouth stained with the blood of his avian victim, was seared into my memory. I knew we had to keep moving, but my mind kept wandering back to the stories of my family's curse. Could the Howler man be connected to our dark legacy? Was he a product of the same supernatural forces that had plagued my ancestors? The more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that our chance encounter was not a coincidence. There was a reason he had reacted so violently to Tiffany's challenge, and I feared that reason lay in the secrets of my family's past.